Hello friends, how are you? In today's session, we will explain how we can perform the CRUD operation using ASP MVC .NET 7 Web APIs. We will perform all the CRUD operations and then we will use the Postman for the testing of the APIs. For the database, I will use the SQL server, right? Now, let's me go to the Visual Studio so that we can create the project and perform the other activities, right? Now let's me open the Visual Studio, and here I will click on this option. Let's me search for SP MVC API, and here I am getting the API project option SP.NET Core Web API. Okay, SP.NET Core Web App, right? Now let's me click on these, select this option. I think it is the best option, and let's me click on next. And here I will save my APIs inside this folder, multi YouTube. Okay, now let's me create here a folder, uh, API demo project. Okay, and inside this project I will create my project. So inside this folder, right? Uh, CRUD using CRUD API project. Okay, it will be the project name, and click on next. Select .NET 7 from the drop down and click on next. We take a little time for the first time for creating the project. Okay, so the project created successfully. Let's me close this window, and I will add some packages first of all. So the first package is this one. Okay, so let's me add. Right click, uh, add, manage new get package. Okay, click on this option, and here I will search for this package. Microsoft, yes, let's me dot framework SQL. Let's me remove this one. SQL server. Let's me search for this one. Okay, so I have to install this one, the latest edition. Click on next. And the second package will be the framework core.tools. Okay, so SQL tool. Okay, I accept. So this package installed successfully. Now let's me also search for the framework.tools. Okay, let's me search like in this way, SQL tool. Net .NET tool. I think it should like in this way. I'm not getting the correct name of the project. Microsoft Entity Framework tool. Sorry guys, I'm not getting the package exact name for the time, so I will add some at some later stage. Okay. So the one package installed successfully, and for the other, let me add it some later stage. Now I will add here the models folder. Add models. Okay, and inside the models, let me add one I'm in a student class. Okay, student.cs. Okay, I think I should just replace the class name with user. Okay, user to replace here. It will be my model, and then I will add here some property like public and uh, user ID. Okay, set, and let's me add here one another property, first name, last name, and email. Address, it should be string. It should also be a string. Now for this class, let's me create a database table. Now I will open the SQL Server Management Studio and I will add a table for this class. Okay. Now before this, let's me add the DB context class here. So just I will copy the class name. Okay. Add uh, class API demo DB context will be my class name, and open the class and I will inherit this from DB context, not like in this way. It's this one. Okay. Let's me add here the body of the class. Control C, Control V. Okay. So inside the constructor of this class, I am just passing again this class name to the DB context option, and it's inherit from the base option. So just keep these things as it is, and here I am adding a property for my user entity. Okay, close all these. Okay, first I will create the database. I think I can use this existing database, the test block. Okay, so let's me see whether the table exists here. Here is new user table. So let's me add here a table. Uh, okay, so I want to use the existing DB for adding the table. So let's me see here the table columns, user ID. Okay, first name, and it will be the email address. Okay, and it will be an integer. It will be a n varchar 50 150. Sorry, copy this one and paste for the other options also. So uncheck this one. First name should not be null. It should not be null. It should not be null. Let's me set is as a primary key. Okay. Now I will save this table with the name user. Right. Okay. Close this one. And here let's me refresh the databases. So I added the user table just is my existing DB, the base block. Okay. And let me go to the application again. I have added the API demo DB context class, and here is my user class. Now let's me add um, one another. No, let's me first add the connection string, right? Now here I will add the connection string. So for the connection string, let's me search here connection string in .NET 7. Let me also search for 6 figure connection string. Okay. Search for any template of the connection string. Let's search for .NET 7. I just want to copy the template. How string? There is no template for the connect. I I, I just forget the template how we can use. Okay, let me search CRUD app setting.json connection string .NET 6. Let me search for .NET 6 because there may be articles. Connection format setting. Yes, I just want to search for this one. Okay. Now let me paste here, and here I will give a name to the connection string, db connection server database trusted. No, I want to use the SQL server. Okay. I want to use this one. Database connection. Okay, and my server name is, copy the server name, and I will paste here. The database name is just copy the database name. Here let's me give the user ID of the server, and my password is 123456 for the time. Okay, so our connection string is ready. Let's me give your name as db connection, right? I have to add a controller uh, for performing all the operation. So click on controller. Let's me click on API controller empty add, and here let's me give here a name with demo controller, demo API controller, right? Okay, so it will be the controller API demo, it will be the root, and let's me add all the functions for the operation. Now first I will add the demo db context. Okay, private read only API demo API. Sorry, copy this one. I just want to inject here this class API demo context. Okay, inside the constructor of the class, just import this one. Okay, it is imported successfully. API demo context underscore, and let me give also a name here to this one. Just want to give a name because I already done some work, so it should be like in this way. Okay, remove this one, control C, control V. So inside the constructor of the demo API controller, I am just in passing the API demo context so that we can use here inside this controller. Okay. No, I will add the method for getting the list of the user from the database. Okay. So to get the user list from the database, I have already created an API. So let's me paste here. It is a very simple API, get async and API db context dot user dot API db context. Yes, this one. So let's me user dot to list. Okay, and I will get the user list, and then I will return to the, I mean, to the front end. Control S, and it will be the HTTP get. Let me also pass here a route over this one. Okay, it should be, I think, the class name. Okay, no, it's working, and the namespace imported successfully. Right, let me see. Okay, no, each and everything is fine, and I have just to give here the API route. Get user. Okay, it will be my first API, and let's me add some data inside this table so that uh, we can just check. Right click on this table, edit. I just want to add one or two row. So it will be the user ID, first name should be Noor, last name should also Noor, and the email address noor.test@test.com. Let me add one another row. Uh, John, John and John dot test@test.com. Okay. So I have added just two rows. Let me show you the data also. Sorry, user, sorry, user, whether it will work like in this way. Context near explore. Let me show you the user. I think I should keep the name like user because it's already used somewhere in the SQL. Okay, no, it's fine. Let me search here the data, execute. Okay, no, it's working. And inside my uh, project, I will also rename this one with users. Okay, and let me also rename the file name user. Okay, and the API DB context lets me pass here the user with this way. Okay, close this one and go to the, yes, users, which, and everything is okay. Okay, now let's me run the project, and I will also run the Postman so that we can see the result. Right, my project is my project will run in a few seconds. Okay, I will open the Postman then. So Postman is a tool to test your APIs, right? It is a good tool for testing your APIs. So I have already installed it on my system. You can just Google Postman, and then you can install it on your system, right? Now let me close this one at the time. Here in the .NET 7, the Swagger option is already available, so you can also test your APIs from the Swagger. Okay. Now here you can see that it is my API demo get users list API, and this API taking new parameter. Okay, let's me first check from the, I will just give this URL, API demo get users list. Okay, uh, let's me create a new, sorry guys, inside the new collection, let's me add one request. The request type should be get, and its URL should be like this one. Control C, and here let's me pass the remaining path. API demo get users list. Okay, API demo get users list. Save, and I am not passing any data to the body in the body of this API. So let's me first check from the Swagger. Click on this option and click on execute. Execute it successfully, but it send me some error in the response. Response status is 500. Let's me also check from the Postman. I am getting the same error also in the Postman. Unable to solve CRUD API model to API documents while attempting to activate CRUD controller demo. Okay, so I am getting the error due to the API demo DB context. I did not register these class in my program.cs. Okay, so let's me copy the code for registering these service inside the program.cs. Go to the program, stop duplication, go to program.cs, and here let's me add this. Okay, API demo context, get connection string. So let's me copy the connection string and give me the connection string. No, let's me run again the project, whether I am getting the error again or each and everything is working fine. Okay, first I will check here from the Swagger. Open these and try it out and click on execute. Okay, now my API hit it successfully. Let me see whether I am getting data from the database. I just get an error again. The entity type users requires a primary key to be defined. Okay, if you intended to use a key less entity type called has no key in okay. So let's me copy this line and I have just to provide the key property on the user ID column. Okay, so I think I can do like in this way. I just go to the users class. I think I should supply like in this way. Okay, let's me run again. Don't show about this option, but let's me try out. Okay, no, I will try again. Try it out, execute, and did not getting any. I get some kind of other error. SQL, a connection was successfully established with the server, but then an error occurred during the login process. Okay, so let's me copy the connection string, this one, and paste because it is my server exact connection string. Go to the app setting. Guys, I don't want to remove any part from the video that I am facing these kind of difficulties, so that we can see how to solve the issues. Copy this one, paste, and stop duplication. It is my server name, okay, and the database name will be best block, the user ID is equal to SA and password is equal to 12345 6. So let's me remove the top one. Okay, and it is the connection string that working fine for my other project. Okay, control S, and let's me run the project again. Is my API. I want to test it from the Swagger, and later I will also show you how we can test from the Postman. Try it out, execute, and here let's me. I think I am getting again some kind. A connection was stable with the server, but then an error occurred during the login process. Provide SSL provider. Let me also check from the Postman. Continue. A connection was successfully established with the server, but then an error occurred during the login process. SSL provider error 0. The certificate chain was issued by an authority that is not trusted. Okay, so how can we solve these SSL type error? Uh, .NET 7 API. I think it's some kind of SSL related issue in the project. So try adding trusted connection true. Okay, let me add these inside the connection string. Okay, let me try again. Sorry guys for the inconvenience because I did not face this kind of issue before, and I don't want to remove this kind of difficulty from the video. I don't want to pause the video first to solve this issue and then resume the video. Continue. Let me show you again. Okay, let me see. Okay, guys, successfully I get the two users from the databases. Okay, continue. So here I am getting my users lead successfully in the response body. Let me also check in the Postman. No, I am giving the complete URL. The API type is get, and I am sending the data. Okay, continue. Now here in the Postman, you can see that I am getting the two objects from the database successfully. Now let's me create the other APIs one by one. I will now create the API for um, getting user. Getting user by ID. Right. Copy this one and paste here. Get user by ID, and let's me type S. Okay. Find user ID, and here user. Okay. No, for this API, I will add here one another request. Let's me duplicate this request, and the request name will be get user by ID. Okay, and the request URL will be like in this way: get user by ID question mark, and then user ID. User ID will be like 1 or 2. Okay, save this data. Let's me run the application. So it will be the root get user by ID, get user by ID, and I will pass the user ID in the URL. I will get this here in this place, and I will test. Let's me run the project again. It's very simple. Now here in the Swagger, you can see that my second API URL is showing successfully. Now let me first test from the from the Swagger, and then I will test from the Postman. Okay. So let's me the Swagger I am getting a little difficulty. So to solve this issue, I think I am not able to add here some value to this user ID, but let's me try here from the Swagger. API hit it successfully. I have added no user with the user ID 2 because I am getting 0 in the URL, right? So let's me stop the application. I think I should try like in this way. By the URL user ID, and I will now try again. Okay, now the application running successfully, and let's me go to the Postman, and here I will just pass the user ID like in this way. Save and send. Okay. No, I get it the user ID correctly. Each and everything is coming successfully. Let me show you here the user data that I am getting correctly. I will notice the API in the Swagger. Let me try. I am not able to pass the user ID. Basically, uh, is a required field but not editable. So leave it for the time because we have tested successfully in the Postman and it is working. Right? You can see the data. Now, my third API will be to create the user, to create a new user. So copy this and let me paste here all this code. So post async will be the API for creating my user. Okay. Now here API db context.user.add will just add this user, and then it will save the changes in the database, and I will then navigate to the get user by ID API once my content created successfully. Okay, so let's me remove this line. Okay, and I will navigate to the get user by ID. Okay, let's me try out. Put here a debugger, stop the application, and let's me also give a URL to this API. Okay, create user will be the API URL, and let's me create one another request duplicate, and I will rename it create user, right? And let's also put here the URL. Okay, now inside the body I will just pass the JSON for creating the user. Okay, so from this API let's me copy this JSON and I will paste here, and for this time let's the user ID should be 3 and the first name should be Abid, last name should also be Abid, and the email should be abid.test.com. Okay, so I will pass these in the body, and then a new user will be created with this information, right? So let's me run the application again. Okay, in the Swagger I am getting the option for creating the user, and here is the JSON. So let's me first edit the JSON. It will be 3. I think I am not able. No parameters. Request body. Example value. So parameters. First try from the Postman. Send 405 method. Okay. So these methods should be of post type, right? because I have declared here post, and the API headed successfully. Let me see. I am getting all the objects value, the first name, the last name. Now let's me create the user, that the user created successfully. So I want to show you from the database. Okay, you can see that the user created successfully, and let's me navigate to the other data. You can see that in the response I get it the exact user data, because I just want to get data from these API and then return to the front end, right? But from the Postman, from the Swagger, let's me refresh. Why I am not able uh, to give these example. Let's me try out. Okay, sorry guys. Now let's me pass here 4. The first name should be, let's suppose, the last name should be, let's suppose, like in this way, and the email address, let's suppose, s.com. Okay, and let's me try it out. Execute. Okay, I have get it all the data, and let's me continue. Okay, now the user here created also successfully. Let's me show you in the database. Execute. Okay. Mm. So it's mean that we can also use this option, and let's me try out, because I was not able to add here the user ID. Basically I have to click on the try it out, and then I have to supply the user ID. Let's suppose I want to get the user record with ID 3, and let's me try out. Continue. Okay, now here you can see that I have get it, the data successfully for the user with ID 3. So we are testing the API both from the Swagger, from the Postman, and we are also adding the data in the database. We are getting the data from the database. Okay. Let me create here an API for, to delete, yes, to update or delete the user data. So let's me with this code and paste here for updating the user record. Users, okay, users. And let's me also give here a URL for this API. Update user. Stop the application, and let's me run the application again. I just want to update some data of a user. Okay, now let's me try it out from the Swagger again. From the Postman, I will try for this time for the from the Postman. Okay, so let's me try out. Uh, First copy the URL. Okay, I'm not able to copy the URL. So let's me duplicate this one. Okay, rename, update user, right, and it will be of put type. The API URL will be update user, and inside the body, I want to update the user to this one, and let's me update this information to. I just want to update his first name and last name, right? And let's me try out. Put here a debugger. Send. Okay. I am returning no content. Okay. So let's me see the data is updated successfully or not. Okay. So the user information updated successfully. Now let's me also try it out from the Swagger. I want to update the. Let's me copy exact these request body and paste here, and no, I want to update to 3. Yes, let me execute this API, continue. Okay, and now I will see the result whether it's updated to 3 from zone 2. Okay, you can see that the data updated successfully. Now the final API will be to delete any user. Now let me copy this code and paste here. Control V. Okay, delete async. It will be the users. Okay, users. So this API basically will first get the user by ID, and then it will, I mean, if the user is not null, then it will remove from the database and will save the changes. Now let me save the application and just want to add also the final API. I think my app is not still running. Let me see. Okay. I want to delete the user with ID 4. Let me. Okay. So the API did successfully in the Swagger, and let me try out. I want to delete the user with ID 4. Okay. But first I want to give here a URL to the API. Now let me copy this URL and paste here. User, like in this way. Delete, copy this URL. Okay, run the application and go to the Postman. Just add here one another request for deleting the user record. Now let me click on this one. Yes, this one. Sorry guys. Name it to delete user. Okay. The API, sorry guys. The API URL will be like delete user, and then you have to pass here the ID of the user. Okay, the ID. I want to delete the user with ID 4. Now save the information. Let me see whether it's running in the Swagger. Okay, in the Swagger it's running. I want to delete the user with ID 4. Now let me put here a debugger also. Execute. The debugger hit it successfully. The user ID coming in the UO and the variable. And let me step forward. I think I am getting some kind of issue because it's taking long time to get the user right. Step forward. Okay, now let me see whether the user deleted successfully. Okay, guys, the user with ID 4 is deleted successfully. Now continue. Now from the Swagger, I want to delete the user with ID 3. Now go to the Swagger. I just want to delete the user with ID 3 for this API, right? Now let me execute. For the Postman, I think, let me show you HTTP delete. I think it should be like in this way. Delete, it is a good way. So we have already performed from the Postman. Now I will perform the delete activity for the user with the ID 3 from the Swagger. No, yes, execute. Okay, continue. Now let's me see whether the user deleted successfully or not. Okay guys, you can see that the user with ID 3 is no longer exists in the database. So we created 4 APIs, 4 to 5 APIs for different kinds of operation, for getting the user list, for getting a user by ID, for creating a user, for updating a user, and for deleting a user. I show you the process for from the Swagger and from the Postman also, how to test your API. So in .NET 7, the Swagger option is already available. You can see that I did not add any option for the Swagger in my project. So it's already added. If I just go to the program.cs, I will show you here that the Swagger is already added, right? Now we created the APIs. These are very simple APIs, and you can perform on your own side like in this way. So thank you for watching the video. I just copy and paste the API code from here because I don't want the video length to be very lengthy because you people will be bored if it's too lengthy. Thank you for watching the video. Keep subscribe the channel.